Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the Scorpion Evo from ASG. It's not a new gun, and certainly there are a lot of reviews on it, but this one I'm going to show something that other reviews doesn't really go through. So, to start, I got this Evo because after my experience at playing Airsoft, I really wanted a gun AEG with empty mag detection, and that already narrows down the candidates. You have the PCWs, you have the Marui Next Gen, you have the KWA ERG. That's the main, most of them. There are certain MOSFET, that the electronic trigger board, that allow you to upgrade to it, but not very reliable. It's not like beautiful. It's not a mechanical detection you get from your magazine. They either have a BB sensor or something like the Airsoft systems hop-up chamber. So the PW, I had one, I still have one. Really not my thing. Heavy magazines, picky about BBs. I just couldn't get them to sound right. Like they don't sound particularly bad, but they generally is a lot easier to get an AEG to sound right than a PTW. They're heavy. You can't get them to perform the same as AEG. Say whatever you want. They are accurate. Yes, they are very accurate, but they shoot slow. The rate of fire is slow. The trigger response is nah. Even with the best motor, you can pay $300 for a motor, for a Kumi motor, which that's what the Evo cost out of the box. The Marui, well, I'm not a Marui fan. I'm not a Marui fanboy, and the net recoil shock. First, I would remove the recoil anyways. For recoil and all the other things, I take my GBBRs, easy, or I take my Daytona or any others. Magazines are huge. They're M4 magazines, and they only hold like 80 rounds, and that didn't make sense to me. I mean, nowadays mid caps can hold 250 rounds if you take the PTS ones, and a normal one is like 150. So that also didn't set well with me. And they left the Evo, which caught my attention for several reasons. It's short, at least if you buy the short version. I actually bought the long version and I reduced it gradually down to the length I'm comfortable with. You have a stock that I'm playing more and more CQB and Speed QB or Speed Soft. And I use a paintball mask nowadays, and this actually allows me to shoulder the gun properly. And it's very well engineered. Okay, that's the main reason why I got it. So the gearbox is not as advertised. It is not CNC. Okay, it's cast, but it is post-processed to cut it where its dimensions are important. They are machined. Okay, the one side is the base of the gearbox where your grip attached to, so it's machined square. So when you attach the grip, it's gonna be on the proper alignment between the motor and the gearbox. It comes with a neodymium motor. Okay, it's a very strong motor. Probably one of the best out of the box. And the motor comes with a collar that will lock at the hole where the pinion gears go through. And together with the base screw, your motor position is very well defined. Gearbox is strong. It's actually not open on this side. It actually covers up only with a small opening, so it's strong. And the top-head plate, nozzle, cylinder, the compression and feeding group of the gearbox is amazing. If you take a regular top-head plate, you will see these weird shapes, like several different cuts and all, and like, why? Evo doesn't. Evo has something like this, it's just a curve. Okay, and this curvature just matches your sector gear. So you drive here and it's gonna turn, and then it's gonna pull it always like that. Okay, it just pulls, then it gradually releases. There's no any bump, no weird cut. And it just shows that this makes sense. This just makes sense. The nozzle is not O-ring, but is machined to such a precise tolerance that with very light greasing and lube, it's just as airtight as the O-ring nozzle with minimal friction. It's just, the whole thing is just amazing. The piston didn't come with full metal rack, but the piston, the way it's built and given the material and weight of it, I would say, if you play it stock, you don't need to change it anyways. I did because I ended up making DSG build and I did the internal overhaul. But stock-wise, I think the gun is really close to be a perfect AEG. I mean, except you have less choice when it comes to customization as M4, but still, I mean, I got a different handguard. I machined my barrel to slimmer, so it fits better, it's better. The stock handguard is slimmer than this and is not square all the way. Oops. Okay, that's what I hate. That's what I absolutely hate about the Evo. It's a charging handle. It's ridiculous. It jumps out every time. Couldn't think why didn't they just put something to stop it going off. Anyway, I do and also machine this to 40mm counterclockwise. This is my gun, how it looks put together. Yeah, this just shows how cumbersome it is to use this. And I have this tracer unit. It's a tracer. So this is actually the part that tightens it. So use it, I just slide the back in first. Great. This just shows how hard it is to use, to put it back. It's a lot easier when you're not on camera and have more space, but it will do. Okay, so that's in. I can just, oh God. Okay. Fold it. After I tighten it, it actually just squeeze the handguard back. Okay, so it's actually really sturdy once you, even though it's plastic, it's really hard plastic, polymer. I apologize, polymer, and it's actually really stiff. It's really strong. I have no complaints about the material. It's really solid construction. The gearbox is very well held in place, same as the hop-up unit. So that is actually the tracer. It's a X-Cortec. And this is the front part. I just slip it down, tighten the screws. But that's, you don't get that, and it's hard to get. You basically have to find people that make these. This is 3D printed, very good 3D print, but it's costly. So, out of the box, probably the best AEG you can get. It's definitely better than your Crytek, for sure. It's better than, it probably performs better than the TM Next Gen. It probably works better than the PTW out of the box. It's smooth, it shoots not fast. It's a high torque motor, like 22K around that, paired with 18-to-1 stock gears. So it's not like fast, but very responsive. You can shoot really hard. A real quick change spring to just fold the stock, just slide it up, push, twist, change spring, put it back. Almost as fast as the PTW. The PTW, you have to pull the pinion, give it a good kick for it to pop open, swipe the cylinder, pop it back. Not the worst, but this is better than 90% of AEGs with quick exchange strings. People complain about the hole pop gesture. I mean, I don't. The one I got, the bucking was with a little bit of oil in it. So definitely clean that. I hopped mine with this stainless steel barrel. The stock one is a 6.03 brass one. I bet it will be just fine. So if you get it out of box, it will be fine. It will be fine. I just went over it because I love tagging guns and I wanted to build this for my personal taste and to make a workhorse out of it. So what did I do with it? I swapped motor for ASG 22K CNC motor. Not really because I need it, but I put everything that is super durable to it. I got their bearing spring guide. The stock one is not bearing, kinda sad. Consider the piston head doesn't have bearings either. And nowadays a lot of guns actually comes with bearing piston head and spring guide. But it is steel, so it's very strong. I use their short stroke CNC trigger. That really improves your trigger quite a lot. Their stock MOSFET system is the best out of the box gun you can get. Okay, 50 amps continuous amp drain, and this won't burn. Give you, well, the safe semi burst for auto, and really short but positive switch right there. However, I wanted a binary. I want a binary trigger function, so I got the Leviathan. I actually consider this to be a downgrade to be a certain point because this one, the Bluetooth died. The Bluetooth died first, then the gun started, but it was still shooting as programmed, then it stopped shooting for whatever reason. I resetted it, it started working just like the stock one, like lost the program I did to it. And the Bluetooth still dead. They sent me a new one for free, and that new one is still working for now. But that's the price you pay for some fancy trickings. I did R-hop barrel. I took the stock hop-up arm, sand it down, and glued the block of rubber to it to make the flat nub. The barrel mold I did to lace it down, that really helps a lot. It's so easy to pop in batteries now, but I guess not everybody would have access to it. So altogether, out-of-box Evo would be below 400. I think you can get them easily for 350. So for that price point, I would argue this is the perfect, even a beginner gun. Because it's super user-friendly, and it definitely will outlast a lot of other guns that are considered to be newbie's gun, your best first gun. Because all the other guns, let's take the G&G combat machine, okay? It's nice, it shoots, but once you start upgrading it, you need to upgrade a lot. Everything there can be swapped out. And they can't shoot to be swapped out. And if you, but however on this gun you don't. If you just want, this is already like an upgrade for a shit ton of guns. To get the burst, a lot of guns don't give you burst. Even let's say you take the Ares EFCU, you would need to buy their programmer. If you take the Crytek ones, they don't do anything. They're just electronic triggers, like basically MOSFET. And same as the G&G one. The G&G is basically just a MOSFET with a micro switch instead of the traditional contacts. So you don't have to touch electronics. You don't have to touch the motor. It's already neodymium motor, high torque, perfectly fine. I would say it's definitely on the same level as a SHS high torque, which is upgrade for a lot of people. You have bushings instead of bearings, but different opinions. I prefer bearings always. I always use bearings, but there are people advocate for bushings because they last. So let's say they last. You don't change them and you just shim your gun properly. Let's say you feel your guns, you want it to sound more like a upgrade gun. So you change the gears. You just change the gears, let's say to 13:1, 12:1. This one is DSG, but let's say you keep it modest. You take the motor, you put 13:1, they give you 30 RPS easily. And you can probably still shoot above 400 FPS without any issues. I mean, the MOSFET, the electronic can handle 50 amps. So you do that and you swap the piston for metal rack piston. That's really easy. You don't have to touch anything about the air group. You cannot. I tried. I wanted to drop this in. It's like this is a gather bore up kit for MP5. I would just have to chop off the nozzle a little bit. But after testing, it's not better. It's just not better. The nozzle without the O-ring from the Evo is just as good as if I have O-ring on it. The piston has a steel base, so since I paired it with the bearing spring guide, I don't need a bearing in the front. It has very thick rubber base for the cylinder head, so it's bouncy, it's quiet. You don't really need these silent piston cylinder sets. So I just changed the piston, and the O-ring, well, in my case, the O-ring was one of these O-ring situations that you get air seal if you press it fast enough. However, you press it slowly, you don't have air seal. And that was causing some problem. I swapped it out for one of the O-ring I had in my box and totally solved that issue. Could be just me, but when it was out of box, it was still shooting 400 FPS just fine. So you don't change the cylinder, you don't change the cylinder head, you don't need any of that. The gearbox will last you forever. So basically, all you have to do is swap out the gears. You swap out the gears, and your gun is suddenly shooting 30 RPS and maintaining everything else. It will sound good. So compared to any other guns, you ended up using a lot more of the gun that you bought. You don't buy a gun, swap parts with time, and you're left over basically half the gun somewhere else. In this one you don't. You actually use it for a very long time. That's why I would argue you actually get more out from it instead of, let's say you buy I won't even say buy GNG. Yes, let's say you buy a combined machine. This is also polymer body, so let's do that. You buy GNG, you drop in some kind of, let's say you use a gate Aster, that would give you some level of out-of-box programmability. And you change the piston, you change the motor. After all that is done, you're probably $300 already, if not more. And compared to this, you still won't have some of the good features. You still won't have a quick exchange spring. You still won't have as good of tappet and nozzle design in there. You will never ever get empty mag detection. You just can't. So this gun, perfect.